Okay, so you've heard that the fastest way to win more games is to watch your own replays, right? But how do you actually do it and not die of boredom? Welcome to Buns Academy. I'm your coach Buns.
Done. Yeah, it just feels like something that has
What the fuck?
And I've mentored 12 different players to make their first main event since free-to-play launched. One of the biggest things people get wrong about replay analysis is that it needs to take a lot of time, and this is just not the case, but most people don't know how to do it effectively, which is why I'm gonna try to show you today how you can do that. Another big thing people get wrong is that they think they need to make a long list of everything they did wrong, start trying to check off each item on that list. This is just not true. By making a long list of everything you did wrong, you will just clutter your mind and not gain clarity. This in turn is neither motivating nor helpful for your improvement. Over the 7 years that I've been coaching, the more experience I got, the more I realized two very important things. The first is that players and playstyles change. You and everyone will be improving just by playing, especially if you play actively and competitively. But sometimes we can block our own improvement. Here's what I mean. As we play, we naturally recognize patterns and subconsciously connect information to inputs to outcomes. So you will learn by simply playing, but because we oftentimes are biased and have a brain with thinking patterns and belief systems which have an easier time forming if it justifies our effort, we often will create excuses for outcomes rather than take responsibility and look for solutions. Even ignorance in some cases. We start thinking, but I had a good intention, or but my idea would have worked if I executed it better, or even if my teammate just did that simple thing, it would have worked. All of these justify action and decision that we had control over, which could have changed the outcome of the play, because we want to feel better about ourselves. Of course, there is some leniency here, but I would argue it is way more important to be too objective and say, this action, let's call it A, led to this outcome B, but if I did this action C, introduce this new action that you could have done, it would have prevented the problem, or at least made it a lot easier. This is where stepping out of your shoes and assuming the role of your own coach can help you with what simple habits might be holding you back. And the second thing that I've learned is that we work way better when we break things down into simple, tangible, and achievable steps. Take the well-studied subject of SMART goals as an example. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And it's a way to increase the likelihood that you will achieve any outcome by changing how you set the goal and instructions for it. This is why that long list of mistakes you might want to note down and keep by your bedside is most likely just going to clutter your brain. This is why it's better to focus on a few simple bullet points of practical and objective instructions that will get you to the next step, not necessarily climb the entire mountain. That mountain of yours is going to change as you develop. So what do you need to start? And how do you prepare? Well, you don't need a lot for a replay analysis, but here's a couple things worth doing before you load into that replay. If you know how to upload your replay to ballchasing.com, I would recommend you do this. It gives you a cheat sheet access to one of the most important stats in the game, which is boost. It will tell you how much boost you average, how much time you spend in each range of boost, 0 boost for example, and how much boost you pick up, both big boosts and also small pads. Open a notepad. You're going to be taking simple bullet point notes. If you have it digitally, make sure you have borderless on while you're watching the replay, so you can press Windows key and bring it up instead of having to tab out. You find this in your settings. Lastly, find a replay that you're going to analyze. A close win or a loss is preferred. Make sure that it's in a competitive setting and not one where you felt really confident. Don't cherry pick only good replays. You need to see the ugly. The more you face the bad sides of your average gameplay, the more you will improve on them. Acknowledgement and recognition really is half the work here. Now you're ready to start analyzing the replay. So the first few times that you do this, you're gonna be more thorough and go through all of the mistakes you can find so that you can later sort them. For now, I'll show you a clip of me analyzing my own replay and showing you what the simple process looks like. Alright, let's check out this replay real quick. With me playing Sim 2s. And a couple of things that I'm looking out for here is just generally, do I make good challenges? Am I doing well with boost management? Am I aware of where all the players are and if I'm leaving my teammates alone? And then my general mechanics, card mechanics and ball mechanics. Okay. Okay. Here I see that it was possible for me to bring this ball back this way and play for my own control, but my touch that I get now is more so into their player. There is a chance that my teammate gets the demo here, which means it's a free goal, which is probably the best play. But either way, if I'm looking at this on a first kind of rough idea, it was probably possible to place this somewhere this way so that I can follow it. In other words, I wasted a potential possession. Ooh, okay. It worked out. Teammate forces to follow up. Okay. So here I've made my decision to go forward before I'm 100% sure that my teammate, who I thought was going to be following on this ball here, before he can or does. So my awareness of my teammate there was very poor. Let's see that from our teammate's POV, because here I'm confused because in my eyes, this force allows him to follow up. Let's see what he sees. Okay, here, in my opinion, I will say that it was my teammate's fault that they had a shot opportunity, because I know in his position, I would have had an easy save. But again, now I'm justifying an outcome, and of course, like completely objectively here, I did leave him in this position. So if I play this again, I wouldn't pre-jump, even though I know roughly where he's going, because I'm taking myself out for too long. So I would have waited until he was much closer before I jump, so that my recovery time is shorter. That's a double commit here. The problem already started earlier with that challenge, but yeah, I did rush there. A little bit of panic, essentially. Okay, a bit of a risky challenge there. Good touchback. We'll grab the boost. Here we don't instantly commit. We play time and we get rewarded. We try to follow up. We get very close here. We don't really have an angle to shoot. That's quite greedy. And we're leaving ourselves on a low boost here. So if we just look at what happened, we move forward on very low boost. We jump in their half. And we're very awkward. So if we play that again, a very logical conclusion would be 1, we're low boost, 2, we don't see where anyone is, and 3, we are kind of leaving our teammate alone. So from that aspect, I would say that we should probably not rush to follow a ball when we see that it's not an easy follow-up. Rather stay patient and play on the pads midfield, because we get a better angle waiting for the bounce either way. Just driving under the ball doesn't do too much. Very poor first touch. Good play here by Chrono. Let's see if we could have maybe been in the play a bit more. Waited for him to cut. He didn't want to cut. Okay, so definitely let's watch this from our teammates' POV now. And we see that he's completely neglecting to cut here. Let's watch it from even the opponent's POV, because I still feel like it doesn't make too much sense. Now, who would I feel most awkward if they challenged me if I was Chrono? Well, if someone challenged me from under, I would have to shoot high immediately, which is easily savable by the guy on the backboard. So, I mean, I could have played it better. And my reasoning here is the guy on the backboard can ideally cover higher and not play low. So I'm covering too low. That's what I could have done different. And in this position, it would have changed the outcome. Does it make sense? Yes. That would be kind of the way I would compensate. And just change how I played it. Even though my teammate should probably cut there. But I didn't adapt. Alright, so after those 3 minutes of gameplay, we're done now. I feel like I've got a couple of things that I could have done differently that I feel like made sense. So I'm gonna go into my notepad here and I'm gonna write down a little bit of a bullet point style. Leaving teammate alone because I was not aware of where he is. Okay, so how can I prevent this from happening again? If I just break it down really simply, it's not challenge without knowing where my teammate is, and making my challenge easy to recover. So this, especially the first part here, not challenging without knowing where my teammate is, that is clear. And this is something that we can actually track. You yourself can. No one else can, but you would know. The second point that I was gonna write down for myself, if there was anything, it was don't dive so early when defending alone. And I know from a rough kind of idea of how I usually play that indeed this happens quite often. But I'm gonna focus on point 1. Okay, now we've got our different points of things that we're gonna work on. We've got specifically 2, of which one was something we noticed multiple times in the replay. So what I recommend for you to do now is go into ranked and play a best of 7 with yourself. First 4 wins or 4 losses. And you're gonna play the solo queue. Now, between every game and between, I would say, every goal, you want to remind yourself of this. It's important that you're able to visualize yourself performing and executing the point that you're actually working on. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is get into the same situation, but respond to it differently.